December 26th, 2004. The world was about to witness one of the greatest disasters in human history. In the early hours of December 26th, 2004, as the world was waking up to what seemed like an ordinary day, a cataclysmic event was quietly brewing deep beneath the surface of the Indian Ocean. Far below the tranquil blue waters, the Earth's crust was under immense pressure, the result of tectonic plates grinding against each other for centuries. Suddenly, at 7:58 a.m. local time, this pressure was released in a violent rupture. A massive earthquake, magnitude 9.1, struck deep beneath the sea off the coast of Sumatra, Indonesia. This was one of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded in human history. Its energy equivalent to the detonation of several 100 million tons of TNT. The epicenter was located just off the western coast of northern Sumatra, at a depth of about 30 kilometers below the ocean floor. The rupture stretched for more than 1,300 kilometers, causing the seafloor to lurch upward by as much as 15 meters in some places. The earth itself shuddered, and the shockwaves from the quake were felt as far away as Bangladesh, Thailand, and even the Maldives. Seismographs around the world registered the violent shaking, their needles leaping wildly as the seismic waves raced outward from the epicenter. In coastal towns and villages near the epicenter, the ground shook with terrifying intensity, toppling buildings, cracking roads, and sending people fleeing into the streets in panic. But for many, the true danger was still hidden, lurking beneath the waves. At first the ocean appeared deceptively calm. Fishermen out at sea and families on the beaches noticed little more than a gentle rocking of their boats, or a subtle trembling of the sand beneath their feet. But beneath the surface, the sudden displacement of the seafloor had set in motion a series of waves, a tsunami, that would soon become one of the deadliest natural disasters in recorded history. The energy released by the earthquake radiated outward in all directions, pushing vast columns of water upward and outward. In the deep ocean, these tsunami waves traveled at jetliner speeds, reaching up to 800 kilometers per hour, but their height was barely noticeable, often less than a meter. To the untrained eye, the sea looked almost normal. Yet, as the waves approached shallower coastal waters, their speed slowed and their height grew dramatically. The ocean began to behave strangely. In some places, the water receded from the shore, exposing the seafloor and leaving fish flopping helplessly on the sand. In others, the surface of the sea seemed to bulge and swell, as if some monstrous force was rising from the depths. Within moments, the calm waters turned into a raging monster. The transformation was sudden and terrifying. Pioliwa, who had wandered out onto the newly exposed sea pit, soon realized too late the danger they were in. The water, which had seemed to retreat, now surged back with unimaginable force, carrying with it debris, boats, and anything else in its path. The roar of the approaching tsunami was described by survivors as sounding like a freight train, a thunderous wall of sound that grew louder and louder as the wave drew near. Panic spread along the coastlines as people scrambled to escape the oncoming deluge. Some ran for higher ground, while others froze in shock, unable to comprehend the scale of the disaster unfolding before their eyes. And then the tsunami struck. Walls of water, towering nearly 30 meters high in some places, raced across the Indian Ocean at unimaginable speed. These waves crashed into the coastlines of Indonesia, Thailand, Sri Lanka, India, and many other countries, obliterating everything in their path. Entire villages were swept away in seconds. Concrete buildings crumbled under the relentless force of the water. Cars, trees, and even massive ships were tossed about like toys. The sheer power of the tsunami was almost beyond comprehension. In Banda Aceh, the closest major city to the epicenter, the destruction was total. Streets were flooded, homes were flattened, and thousands of lives were lost in an instant. The waves did not stop there. They continued to surge inland, carrying with them a deadly mix of water, mud, and debris. People clung to rooftops, trees, and anything that might keep them above the swirling chaos. In some places, the water reached as far as 3 kilometers inland, leaving behind a landscape of utter devastation. The tsunami did not discriminate. It struck rich and poor alike, young and old, locals and tourists. In the popular resort areas of Thailand, vacationers who had been enjoying a peaceful morning on the beach suddenly found themselves fighting for their lives. In Sri Lanka, entire trains were swept off their tracks and whole communities vanished beneath the waves. The Indian Ocean tsunami of 2004 was a disaster on a scale rarely seen in human history. In the hours and days that followed, the true extent of the tragedy became clear. More than 230,000 people lost their lives, and millions more were left homeless. The world watched in shock and horror as images of the destruction filled television screens and newspapers. But amid the devastation, stories of survival and heroism also emerged. People risked their lives to save strangers. Communities came together to help those in need, and the world responded with an outpouring of aid and support. The earthquake and tsunami of December 26, 2004, changed the lives of millions and left an indelible mark on the history of the region. It was a stark reminder of the awesome power of nature and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable tragedy. A tsunami that gave no warning. In the early hours of December 26, 2004, the world was about to witness one of the most devastating natural disasters in recorded history. The Indian Ocean, usually a place of tranquil beauty, became the stage for unimaginable destruction. Without any hint or sign, the sea began to recede, exposing the ocean floor, a sight that left many onlookers confused, unaware of the danger that was about to unfold. Moments later, a wall of water, taller than the tallest palm trees, surged toward the shore with unstoppable force. The tsunami, triggered by a massive undersea earthquake off the coast of Sumatra, Indonesia, traveled at the speed of a jetliner, giving coastal communities little to no time to react. The ocean, which had always been a source of life and livelihood for millions, suddenly turned into a force of unimaginable terror. In just minutes, villages vanished, and cities were reduced to rubble. Entire neighborhoods were swept away as if they had never existed. Streets that once bustled with life were now unrecognizable, buried under mountains of debris and shattered dreams. Families were separated in the chaos, with parents desperately searching for their children, and loved ones clinging to each other as the water surged around them. The force of the wave was so powerful that it uprooted trees, tossed vehicles like toys, and demolished concrete buildings as if they were made of paper. Survivors described the sound of the tsunami as a deafening roar, louder than a freight train, followed by an eerie silence as the water receded, leaving behind a landscape of utter devastation. In the aftermath, the air was thick with dust and the cries of those searching for missing family members. The destruction was so complete that in some places not a single structure was left standing. The scale of the disaster was almost impossible to comprehend, as entire communities were erased from the map in a matter of moments. Indonesia, Thailand, Sri Lanka, India, even the distant shores of Africa all felt its fury. The tsunami's reach was unprecedented, affecting 14 countries and leaving a trail of destruction that spanned thousands of kilometers. In Indonesia, the province of Aceh was hit hardest, with entire towns obliterated and tens of thousands of lives lost in an instant. In Thailand, popular tourist destinations like Phuket and Khao Lak were transformed into disaster zones, as holidaymakers and locals alike struggled to escape the surging waters. Sri Lanka's coastline was battered, with entire fishing villages wiped out and the infrastructure of the island nation left in ruins. In India, the states of Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh faced catastrophic losses as the waves swept inland, destroying homes, schools, and places of worship. Even as far away as the east coast of Africa, the tsunami's waves crashed ashore, causing death and destruction in Somalia, Kenya, and Tanzania. The world watched in horror as news footage revealed the scale of the tragedy. Families searching for loved ones, emergency responders digging through rubble, and survivors recounting stories of miraculous escapes and heartbreaking loss. The tsunami of 2004 was not just a natural disaster. It was a human tragedy on a scale rarely seen, a reminder of the awesome and unpredictable power of nature, and a call to action for global solidarity and compassion in the face of unimaginable loss. That dark day, more than 230,000 lives were lost. Millions were left homeless, families shattered, futures erased. Moments that changed the face of our world forever. In the aftermath of the tsunami, the world seemed to stand still. The once vibrant coastal towns, filled with laughter and life, were now eerily silent, their streets submerged beneath murky water and tangled debris. Homes that had stood for generations were reduced to splinters, and the familiar landmarks that shaped these communities had vanished in a matter of moments. The devastation was total, and for many, hope felt as distant as the receding tide. And yet, amid the devastation, a story of hope emerged. In the shadow of unimaginable loss, the human spirit began to shine. Survivors, though shaken and grieving, found solace in each other's arms. Strangers became friends, and friends became family, as people reached out to comfort one another. In the ruins, there were moments of kindness, someone sharing a meal, a gentle embrace, a word of encouragement whispered through tears. These small acts of compassion became the first sparks of hope, lighting the way forward. As news of the disaster spread, the world responded with unprecedented urgency. Rescue teams from across the globe mobilized within hours, braving treacherous conditions to reach the hardest hit areas. These men and women, many of whom had never set foot in these towns before, worked tirelessly, searching for survivors, providing first aid, and offering reassurance to those who had lost everything. Their courage and determination inspired all who witnessed their efforts, reminding us that even in the darkest times, humanity's capacity for bravery knows no bounds. Relief planes soon filled the skies, their cargo holds packed with food, water, medicine, and blankets. Volunteers from every walk of life, students, retirees, doctors, and teachers, came together to distribute aid and offer comfort. Makeshift kitchens sprang up, serving hot meals to those who had gone days without food. Medical teams worked around the clock, treating injuries and preventing the spread of disease. The outpouring of generosity was overwhelming, a testament to the power of collective action in the face of tragedy. People from every corner of the planet joined hands, united by a common purpose. to rebuild what had been lost. Engineers and architects volunteered their expertise, helping to design safer homes and stronger infrastructure. Construction crews, both local and international, worked shoulder to shoulder, clearing debris and laying the foundations for new beginnings. Community leaders organized meetings to ensure that everyone's voice was heard, and children, resilient and hopeful, drew pictures of a brighter future. The global community had become a family, bound together by empathy and determination. In time, the scars of destruction began to heal. Children's laughter once again echoed through the streets, and families gathered to celebrate milestones, both big and small. New schools and homes rose from the rubble, symbols of resilience and hope. Trees were planted, memorials were built, and the community came together to honor those they had lost while looking forward to the future. Through it all, one truth became clear. Compassion can be stronger than destruction. When we stand together, there's no challenge we cannot overcome, and no darkness that cannot be illuminated by the light of hope. From the ruins came a lesson. New early warning systems were built around the Indian Ocean, so no one would ever again be caught off guard by the sea's fury. The Indian Ocean Tsunami, the day the world shook, the day humanity remembered how small we are before nature, and how great we can be when we choose to rise again.